It's a privilege to be here, and I know we got started a bit early with moving forward. But what I wanted to change up and talk to you about is I represent corporate America, right? So I represent the millions of Christians who have jobs around the United States and around the globe in corporate America. And what does that look like as far as a market for marketplace ministries? And I think so often we focus on business owners and we focus on executives and leadership, but we don't focus on the average employee in the marketplace and building them up, etc. So in thinking about all that and thinking about this Congress and what I'd be speaking about, I changed from the customer experience and went to the value of work a little bit, and not necessarily the basics of the value of work, but I want to really just informally talk to you about why is the definition of work so important as a foundation for moving forward with getting better performers on the job. Here's the issue with Christians in the marketplace. They are some of the worst employees I've ever had work for me, and I've had several thousand employees in my career as an executive, and I can tell you in my conversations with executives in many Fortune 100 companies, when we've gone to dinner around the globe, we talk about Christian employees, etc., and their performance. I can tell you, for the most part, the theme is Christian employees are some of the worst employees in the marketplace. That is a problem, folks. That is a problem. And some of the reasons given for that is, first of all, if they feel you're a Christian, or if they know you're a Christian on the job, they'll feel a sense of entitlement. A lot of Christians get a sense of entitlement when they know their management or leadership is Christian, right? So I don't necessarily have to put in 100%. He knows this is not my temporary home, that we're all going to heaven and we're striving for heaven, so I'm not going to, work as hard as I should, et cetera, et cetera. That is a major, major problem within corporate America and the globe for corporations. We have Christians who have the wrong biblical worldview of work. So I'm not even talking about the secular business community. I'm talking about Christians in the workplace, and we've got to change that, folks. The second reason that I see or I've heard and that I've seen in my own career that Christians are poor performers, besides the sense of entitlement, is they think an average job is a good job. If I am just working my job, getting a paycheck, and they equate it to this equation, right? So that second bullet there, that's the mathematical equation for mechanical work, by the way, for those of you that are, stats that love these equations. But the whole purpose of this slide is really to share that it's more than an equation. Work is more than that. And Christians fall into this trap. Christians fall into the trap of, well, as long as I'm doing my job and meeting the needs of the employer, I'm okay. And that's not the case when you look at the Bible and the biblical worldview of work, which is what we're going to talk about just in three short slides, and we'll go up, we'll open up for Q&A, obviously. So, first and foremost, work was created before the fall, not after the fall. You don't know how many Christians I have talked to that never realized this point. Everybody associates the consequence of work, right, with the after the fall. But they associate the consequence of harder work because of what Adam and Eve did. They associate that, well, that's where work was created. But that is not the case at all. Adam was told in Genesis 2:15 to dress and keep the garden, right, to maintain it, because there was purpose and fulfillment in what God was seeing in building that role for Adam to dress and maintain the garden. So work was created before the fall. That's a major, major foundational principle that we need to get into the congregations, to the pulpits, to the pews, and into our workplaces. Viktor Frankl, in college, you probably all have read In Search of Meaning, very, very popular book in college that everybody had to read. But really, there was 3 ways, right, that he identified that humanity searched for meaning. The first way is through work, that we search for meaning through our work. And unfortunately, we as Christians have lost that out. We've accepted the secular definition of work, and that is to make more money, or to meet my bills, or to pay my bills, etc. And we haven't realized that, hey, our meaning is in our work, first of all, to worship the Lord, and we'll get into that in a little bit, and you all know that here for the most part. But we're to worship the Lord, but we're also supposed to give our very best and perform at optimum levels in our current work. So God created work to provide purpose and fulfillment for man. So there's 3 major principles that I share when I'm out speaking for jobs, because I firmly believe this. Francis Schaeffer, this is one of my favorite quotes. Francis Schaeffer said, "If you do your work well, you will have a chance to speak." If you do your work well, you will have a chance to speak. We have it backwards in the Christian community a lot of times. We're so worried about, how do I talk about salvation on the job? Right? How do I witness? How do I tell people about Jesus? And I'm not saying that's not important, but frankly, you get a lot more responsiveness if you're a powerful, high performer on the job than just going there and talking. Because I've seen it in action. I've seen Christians, I've been with Christians at dinner or whatever that started talking about the Lord, and I know their work performance, and I've seen the body language around the table of people going, "Oh, here they go again," because they know the person's not delivering at work. So their first thought is, well, you can talk about all you want, but obviously it's not helping you in the job. Right? So Francis Schaeffer, that's a great quote. If you do your work well, you will have a chance to speak. There's 3 principles of that. We need to understand that he created work for our benefit as Christians and as leaders in the business community, as business owners, executives, whatever. We need to deliver that message to our people. We need to tell employees the different worldview that we have of work. That's the excuse I give, or the reason I give for people when I get asked quite often, how are you consistently able to deliver results at Xerox? How are you why is your organization constantly delivering and over-exceeding the results? Well, my first response is, well, first of all, I have a different worldview of work. I don't look at my job as just getting results. There's a purpose and a meaning why I'm here. And I start that whole conversation. You don't have to go, well, hey, Gary, why are you such a high performer at work? Because Jesus Christ saved me, and you're going to hell if you don't accept him. Right? You start in on just the basics and talking about why we believe what we believe about work. The second principle is God expects us to work. There's an expectation there, right? Paul, in his writings to the Thessalonians, he talks about if a man doesn't work, neither should he eat, right? You shouldn't go begging for people, et cetera, et cetera. So there's an expectation for us to work. I think, again, the sense of entitlement for Christians is, well, the Lord will provide. The Lord will provide. And of course, there's a dependency on God. And of course, he does provide. And certainly there's provision that comes with being with the Lord. But I think we're missing the boat in realizing that God expects us to do our part. He expects us to put one foot in front of the other. Period. And our work must be done for Christ. Colossians 3:23, right? Work is unto the Lord, not unto man. We're to work as unto Christ. He should be the first and foremost executive when we think about anything we need to do for work. He's the one I'm thinking about when my boss, who's a senior vice president for client operations for North America, when he calls me up and says, hey, Gary, I need you to deliver this, 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 and this, and you got 90 days to do it, whatever. Well, the first thing I'm thinking about, okay, Lord, I'm supposed to do this for you. These are very aggressive goals, targets, whatever. How should I accomplish this, and how do you get the glory out of this? We need to train our people in our corporations how to think like that. Too long, there's been a segregation of faith and work, and too long, we've missed the middle market, right? We need to get away, well, I shouldn't say get away. We need to still focus on business owners and executives, but there's millions and millions. I think Oz said it yesterday, right? There's 56 million people in the marketplace, Christians in the marketplace. We need to focus on that 56 million people. They're not all business owners, folks, right? So our work must be done as unto Christ. There's a self-reliance that comes with that. Here's a simple model. It doesn't show up very well on with this lighting, but really there's 4 steps, and I'm talking to you about the worldview step, and obviously this is a condensed version, right? But there's 4 real key steps that I try to share with people. Number 1 is the worldview step, changing our worldview and establishing those principles. Number 2 is finding out what your purpose is in your current job. You know, often when we talk about purpose and job, we talk about the broader level, which is good. You know, well, what are my skills? What are my behaviors? You know, what do I lean toward? What do I like to do? Yada, yada, yada. That's all good and great, but we're all in a current job right now. So I would challenge you to say, well, you know, I'm an accountant with this firm right now. What is my purpose for my accountant role right now? What am I supposed to be doing right now with this accounting role? Lord, what do you want me to do with this accounting role right now? You could do that with any role. I was in Starbucks. I'm in Starbucks actually quite a bit. Howard Schultz should actually be paying me to enter his stores now. But I travel the world, and so I'm in Starbucks all over the world where they're at. And but this one happens to be in Baltimore. I was in Baltimore, Maryland last month, and well, actually October now. But and 6 a.m. I was there on business and some other things, and I had noticed a barista had come out and was cleaning the store. And this woman was cleaning the store. I mean, she was like taking a cloth and wiping down the chair legs and every little angle of the chair. And she'd go to the pictures on the wall, and she's dusting every little angle of the picture to make sure the dust is... She was spending quality time in cleaning. And my first thought in my mind is, wow, that's a person who takes her work seriously. Because I've been in other stores where, you know, we've all seen it, right? Most of them are probably Christians. No, I'm just kidding. It sounds horrible, but we get to that. That is the purpose. She has her purpose. I believe she knows what her purpose is. I'm to be the best barista there possibly is in this Starbucks. That's probably what her purpose is and why she's cleaning so directly. Okay, her performance ties right into performance. I got to be the top performer in my job. We all need to be. Ecclesiastes 9:10, or what we call the E9:10 principle, just because we weren't creative. No, it helps you memorize, right? E9:10 principle is whatever's in your hand, do with all your might. Whatever's in your hand, do with all your might. Why don't we live up to that principle? Folks, do you realize if the 56 million Christians did everything in their hand with all their might in the marketplace, do you know what a tremendous economic change would happen? Nonetheless, a spiritual change that would follow. It would be massive. Performance, very important, and obviously you get to the transformation piece that I talked about. You need to understand, it's not easy in corporate America. It's not easy in global corporations to share your faith. I think everybody recognizes that in this room. But God gives you opportunities. The last thing I'll close with before we go to Q&A is don't go seeking to witness in your marketplace or in your jobs. Ask the Lord to bring opportunities to witness and leave it to Him. Let me give you an example of that. And oh, by the way, perform and get results. And ask Him to bring the opportunities, because I've had many opportunities to lead employees to the Lord. And in fact, if Xerox knew about some of them, I'd probably be fired. So this is going on YouTube. So the next time you see me, I'll probably be working for another company. No, I'm just kidding. But I'll give you an example, and I'll close with this. I was in Beijing a couple summers ago, and I was there visiting a major financial firm. If you knew their brand, if I said their brand, you'd know them right off the top. In fact, they're one of the firms that's always in Wall Street Journal or New York Times or whatever, being knocked, and these people are evil, yada, yada, yada. But just know this, folks, about the financial services industry, which I have a lot of background in. The financial services industry, there is a lot of good, solid Christian leadership and people in those companies. So just because what you're reading in the media about a certain corporation, don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything you read. Instead, why not pray for them, right? So we were here visiting this global firm that is one of my major clients in Beijing, and my habit is to pray for people or pray for the visit, and Lord, open up opportunities and open the door, and I'll step through it if you want me to, or if I see the opportunity. So the manager, female manager, picked me up the next morning, and typically, as in my habit, because you're going in and out all the time when you do these types of travel, typically my habit is they brief me in a car on the way to the facility. Hey, here's how the operation's going, here's what we're doing financially, customer service, yada, yada, yada. And so we started talking about personal things first and getting that out of the way sort of thing. And out of nowhere, this lady says, well, Americans aren't coming to Beijing anymore. It's kind of fallen off the wayside after the Olympics and everything. So what do you think the problem is? And I said, well, as Christians in America, so I'll speak to the Christian population. Again, all I did was mention Christian, but that's a key, guys. That's a key, right? Learn how to position the opportunity. So I said, well, as Christians in America, I said, I think there's still this, oh man, if I go to China, I'm going to get hung, as I step off the plane because they're going to somehow know that I'm a Christian and I'm just going to get killed, right? There's that perception, and I'm certainly paraphrasing a little bit, but the next next statement she said is, hey, I had some friends that tried to get me to go to church, and they actually wanted me to become a Christian, and they've been talking to me about it, but I told them that I'm going to read the Bible first, and then I'll determine if I want to become a Christian and accept this Jesus. And I said, well, you have it all wrong. And by the way, that was the door, right? Light bulb inside of my mind, right? Bing, ding, ding, ding. Hello, here's the opportunity. So I said, well, you have it all wrong. I said, you need to accept Christ first, and he'll reveal his word to you. And she said, oh, really? So we started talking about that. We pulled up into the bottom of this firm, into the parking structure, and I just felt led of the Lord to ask her, hey, do you want me to lead you in the salvation prayer? Here's what it's about, et cetera, et cetera. Right there in her car, she's in front of her steering wheel. She clasped her hands, and great visual for me. I mean, it was just awesome. And right there in her car, I led her to through the salvation prayer. She accepted the Lord as her Savior. And getting out of the car, I then realized, right, because I'm human, oh, Lord, I don't know anything about the operation. We're in trouble. Right? I'm thinking, oh, this is not good. I'm going to meet with clients that I know nothing about. I turned to Kelly and I said, hey, the Lord's going to honor this. He'll take care of this. You watch. And so we get up into the meetings, and sure enough, the client said everything I needed to know, would not even let me talk. The client just started sharing, oh, your operation's doing this, your operation's doing that. They're doing a great job at this. So, these are areas of opportunity that you need to blah, 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 blah. I mean, just kept going. By the time the meeting was done, and I seldom said anything, I knew all about the business. She was blown away. I say all that to tell you, I would have not gotten that opportunity had I not got promoted within Xerox to what was called a Global Services Delivery Executive back in 2009. Would not have had that opportunity. Now, I'm not an Elijah. Obviously, the Lord could have, used somebody else, right? But the bottom line is, I would have not had that opportunity had I not gone up through the ranks with Xerox and been in Beijing a few summers ago. And that's the idea, folks. We need to be better performers on the job. And these 4 steps will help us get there. In closing, Francis Schaeffer's quote, I thank you guys very much for your time, and we'll turn it over for Q&A, I guess.
Great. Thanks, Gary. I'm glad the Lord led you to change your presentation. We will take questions from the audience, too. We don't have the tweeting feeds up, so. Questions for Gary?
Unfortunately, you can't fly on the radar depending on the level you're at. So as a VP within Xerox, I won't send scripture through my email just because I don't believe God would honor me sending scripture through my email because Xerox pays me to do a job for client operations. It's what I tell people. It's the same thing when they read their Bible on the job. When I've got hourly workers, Christians who have come up to me and said, well, why can't I read my Bible on the job? Well, if it's not a break and it's not a lunch, why are you reading your Bible on the job? I pay you for this, right? And I think God honors that. Now, there's always opportunities to witness, and that's why I say we need to be very careful about reaching out versus let God bring the opportunities. He's more than capable of bringing the opportunity. And that's the mindset I'm trying to get people to think about is let him do it. Be ready, be prayerful, perform high, and I guarantee you he will bring opportunities. Guaranteed. So that would be my feedback. Unfortunately, you're not going to fly under the radar in much of corporate America now. I mean, I was only half kidding with Xerox, but I mean, you know, I could, they could see this video and question me. So, and that's fine. You know, we serve a big God. I'm not worried about it. First of all, I built confidence, trust, and integrity in my employees. So one is the performance piece, right? They know I'll lead them. They know I'll deliver for them. They know we're going to deliver results. So they trust me in that, and they have confidence in that. I think that's the first step as a leader is you need to build their confidence. Once they find out I'm a Christian, it's almost a moot point with those that are secular. They really, it doesn't bother them because they know I'm not going to be one of those, you know, thumpers, obviously, but they trust what I'm doing. They trust the leadership piece. So I think it goes back to just getting that confidence and building the confidence with your employees first. And then they'll trust whatever you're doing. I have never personally been in a situation where I've been asked to do something unethically. Xerox has a very, very strong process when we deal with our clients and everything. So it's very easy for me to fall back on that policy anyways, even if I was put in a position. But I would tell you how I would respond if I was put in a position where a client asked me to do something unethically. First and foremost, I would talk about the Xerox policy, obviously, and say, hey, listen, this is what we have to do. Secondly, I would bring out, well, why? Why are you wanting that? And I would revert the questions and say, and get them to talk about why are they wanting the extra, you know, bonus or buy me this or, you know, give me tickets to whatever, et cetera. I would kind of revert to that and more often than not, and I've never used this, but how I know it works is I've heard other people use it this way, and that's why I'm going to try it when it's done for me. But more often than not, I'm being told that they start to feel guilty. As they start verbally talking about why they're asking for it, all of a sudden they start to feel guilty, and it just becomes, they just kind of wash away. Now, it doesn't always happen that way, but that's how I would respond.
Well, Gary, you have a lot of responsibility, a lot of span of control or empowerment, however you label that. But
right.
You travel a lot. How do you stay in fellowship?
It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. I would say the first and foremost thing that we often miss as Christians as well is we don't focus on the spiritual disciplines enough. It is a shame that 13% of Christians read their Bible weekly. 13%, folks, read their Bibles weekly. That's a shame when you think about it, right? We need to be spending time in the Word. So what I start when I'm traveling is I'm in the Word constantly. And it's easier because you're on a plane, you know, once you've done your work or whatever. I love laptop batteries that don't last long because that's the excuse I use. Oh, yeah, battery ran out, right? So then I can pick up the Word or whatever. But I spend a lot of time in the Word, a lot of time in spiritual disciplines. But then what I do is I reach out to my network and I say, hey, I'm going to be in this city, this place, whatever. Would love the opportunity to spend some time with, you know, Christians in the area, business people in the area. I've had dinners with Christian business leaders in Singapore, Hong Kong, Guangzhou, Beijing, London, you name it. I've had the privilege of having dinners with people, and so I just let people know, hey, this is where I'm at, and would love to meet with you guys. Have dinner. There was a question, I thought. Oh no. So,
Gary, I love the message about that your work matters, and as I've shared that message with business folks, you know, I remember a gal saying, "You've given me hope that I can have an impact again. You know, I felt like that sacred secular split, but that your work matters, that it's God's, I call it his first commission. We talk about the Great Commission, but his first commission, you know, was towards work. But you mentioned about the we need to get that message out and have the churches communicating that. How do you see that coming about?
Well, I think through organizations. I mean, Oz Hillman. I mean, his that book, Change Agent. I was just flipping through it downstairs earlier today, and I think organizations and tools like that definitely are going a long way. Oz, you can pay me after the break. No, I'm just kidding. But so I think that's one aspect. But I think it starts with each and every one of us sitting in this room. Right? It's the whole throw the starfish back one at a time, right? While I'm helping this starfish. I think we all need to go back to our churches and start spreading the word and sitting down, talking. There's enough tools out there. There's enough information, and I mean, it doesn't have to be my book, it doesn't have to be Oz's book. I mean, there's a lot of information out there that we can go and start having these conversations, have people over for coffee and just say, hey, we're going to talk about the value of work. Very informally. Why don't you come on over for coffee and let's talk about it? I mean, it's as simple as that, in my opinion.